Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's September 19th, 2023, and we are in the Old Testament, and we are in the book of 2 Samuel. We're going to read chapter 9 today. Now, we said yesterday that our 21st century sensibilities, we kind of wanted to see a history as this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, but that's not exactly how the Bible handles history. So things are not always chronological. It tends to follow a trait and then come back and follow another trait and come back and follow something. So we saw, how disobedience to God was hurting Israel. Then we saw how, and David too, and we saw how obedience was helping Israel and blessing Israel and David too. Now we want to see David's kindness show up, and then we're going to get back to some history here. Not all of these things are happening one after the other. They're all kind of meshed together, and the author's just pulling out something that he wants us to see, then pulling out another thing he wants us to see, and pulling out something else that he wants us to see from the history. If we remember way back when we started David and Saul, there was the son Jonathan, and that was David's best friend. And they loved each other, and they made promises to each other. And one of those promises was that when David became king, that he would always take care of Jonathan and Jonathan's family. We haven't seen too much about that. It's coming back into play. David says, hey, you know what? I promised Jonathan. Is there anybody left in his family? Because most of them got wiped out, either in the war or through treachery after the Civil War. And he's told, hey, Jonathan had one son. He's lame. And he's at this village, and David comes to him and says, hey, you know what? I promised your father I would take care of you. And what's really interesting is Meshbosheth, which is Jonathan's son, responds to David just like David responded to God, that what we just saw when David wanted to build a temple. Who am I that you're showing me kindness? So comparing and contrasting all the way through this 2 Samuel and 1 Samuel. So we see David say, hey, you know what? I promised your father I would always take care of you. I'm going to take care of you. You're restored. Everything that Saul had is now yours. You're going to eat at my table just like you're one of my sons. I'm going to take care of you just like my son. And that's pretty much where this section ends. And let's go ahead and we're going to read 2 Samuel chapter 9. Now David said, is there still anyone who is left of the house of Saul, that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake? And there was a servant of the house of Saul, whose name was Ziba. So when they had called him to David, the king said to him, are you Ziba? He said, at your service. Then the king said, is there not still someone of the house of Saul, to whom I may show the kindness of God? And Ziba said to the king, there is still a son of Jonathan, who is lame in his feet. So the king said to him, where is he? And Ziba said to the king, indeed, he is in the house of Machir, the son of Ammiel, in Lo-debar. Then King David sent and brought him out of the house of Machir, the son of Ammiel, from Lo-debar. Now when Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, had come to David, he fell on his face and prostrated himself. Then David said, Mephibosheth? And he answered, here is your servant. So David said to him, do not fear, for I will surely show you kindness for Jonathan your father's sake, and will restore to you all the land of Saul your grandfather, and you shall eat bread at my table continually. Then he bowed himself and said, what is your servant that you should look upon such a dead dog as I? And the king called to Ziba, Saul's servant, and said to him, I have given to your master's son all that belonged to Saul and to all his house. You therefore and your sons and your servants shall work the land for him, and you shall bring in the harvest, that your master's son may have food to eat. But Mephibosheth, your master's son, shall eat bread at my table always. Now Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Then Ziba said to the king, according to all that my lord the king has commanded his servant, so will your servant do. As for Mephibosheth, said the king, he shall eat at my table like one of the king's sons. Mephibosheth had a young son whose name was Micah, and all who dwelt in the house of Ziba were servants of Mephibosheth. So Mephibosheth dwelt in Jerusalem, for he ate continually at the king's table, and he was lame in both his feet. May God bless the reading of his word, and may God bless you. Bye.